For the first 15 years of my career, I did what most people do in America. You go to college, you get a degree, you go to trade school, you get some certificate that says you're smart, you can do this thing, and then you go find a company, right? A good company, a strong company that's going to take care of their employees, and you work hard and you work your way up and you climb the corporate ladder, but you're probably not really super excited about work. You're probably not all that fulfilled because, like so many of us, myself included, I never did the work in the beginning to figure out what actually matters to me, what drives me, what gets me excited in the morning. And we want to dive into that today. Today's episode is all about how do you finally face yourself, face the man in the mirror, and figure out what actually matters. What do you like to do? What do you want your legacy to be? What do you want people to think of you as? Well, like 20 years from now, how have you built a life that you're super happy and excited and passionate about? Because you can slave away in a job that you hate and you don't like, and you can climb the ladder and you can get more money, but you're never gonna be excited and fulfilled and, like, honestly just happy. So we want to talk about it. It's important, it matters. And so that's today's show. It's finding your authentic you. It's having the courage to buck the norms. It's having the gumption to go follow your path. And I'm not saying quit everything today, burn the bridges, go do this unknown thing. No, that's crazy. What I'm saying is do the work to figure out what do you want to do, and then how do you get there in a way that makes sense for you and your situation. So enjoy the show. If you're finding value, we ask it every week, and I'm going to ask it again. Please share the show. Share it with somebody that needs to hear this message. Share it with your coworker who's sitting there and you know they're not excited about what they're doing. Share it with your neighbor, your significant others, your whoever. Share the show, build the community, because at the end of the day, D.H.E is all about lifting up dads, husbands, entrepreneurs to achieve more, to build the lives that we all want to live for ourselves. How do we do that? We build a community where we can bounce ideas off of each other. We can talk about what we're talking about right now. We can share stories. We can share learnings. We can share anything that is applicable to the group. So I won't take any more of your time. We'll just jump into the show. Oli, Matt, take it away, guys.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the D.H.E podcast. My name is Oli Hovde. I am a goofy founder of Switchback, a dad of 3 awesome kick-ass little kids, but again, I'm biased, and a husband to my amazing wife, Carly. I'm here with Matt Adelman, who is pretty much, I think, everything the same. Except you don't have 3 kids.
2 kids instead of 3, and my wife's name is Amanda, so that's different too.
He also coaches a lot of sports.
I coached a lot of sports.
I was a coach for soccer this summer and still have a little bit of stress from that. little challenging.
So what are we talking about today, Oli?
Well, one of the things I think about a lot in my personal life is being the authentic self. So I'm going to give you a very quick story, and this is kind of funny. When I got into my former career in commercial insurance, which, by the way, is a damn good career if you want to do it. I know I like to rip on those guys, but like insurance is needed, and a lot of those guys are just really good at what they do. But I didn't, when I got into insurance, I didn't know who I was. And I saw these guys and I wanted to be like them.
How old were you when you got into it?
Gosh, what was I, 20? Well, so I was in commercial insurance for 2 years on the benefit side right out of college. But when I went to my former employer, I was 28. And when I moved for a year with my wife, we moved back and met this awesome group of people. And there's a guy, his name's Ben, and Ben is one of the most genuine, cool dudes I've ever met. And he's younger than me, but an awesome dude. Met him at a networking event, and we got to know each other. We became very good friends. And over the next, I don't know, like probably 2.5 years, he was like, we became just like extremely good friends. And we were at a networking event one night, and I was anybody but the Oli that people know. I was in there, and I was trying to be someone I wasn't. So I was trying to like puff my chest, and people were talking about, right? Because people love to talk about how cool they are, not how fucked up they are. And everybody I talked to was oh, I'm the CFO, I'm the CEO, I do this, I do that. And I was like, I was trying to match it. I was always trying to like one up, and I was always trying to be as cool as those guys were. But clearly there was a disconnect. And we were walking out, and this guy, Ben, looked at me, and Ben, I don't know if he swears at all, but he looked at me, he's like, who was that in there? I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, who was that in that networking event? I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, you looked like a loser. And I was like, oh shit, that hurts. And he went on to explain, he's like, Oli, you were trying to be someone you aren't. You're trying to impress people. He's like, but the real Oli is just this whimsical, happy dude that's pretty much up for anything and is super genuine and loves to help people and has a huge heart. He goes, but the guy in there was someone that I've never seen before. And so it stuck with me.
Do you think though other people realize that, or do you think other people are like, yeah, he's cool, he's like us? Do you know?
I think other people realized it. I think it was pretty apparent that I was trying really hard to impress people. I wasn't just being me. And I think it's really easy because I got to stop saying that. You yell at me when I do that. I have a tendency, and I would say maybe a lot of people have a tendency, but not everybody, to try and beat people they're not, because they think like they have to be something to be someone. And the more that I think about that, the more dismayed I am by how long I tried to impress people based off of my clothes, my shoes, my car, or whatever it was. I was being anything but authentic, which, by the way, I think Merriam-Webster, that's their word of the year, or someone's word of the year was authentic, I saw the other day, which was really interesting. But it brings the great question, like, what is, like, how do you know if you're being true to yourself? How do you know if you're being authentic to who you are and what you want to do? And Matt and I just had this conversation a couple minutes ago. He's like, who is this Oli talking? He's like, why can't I get the guy on the podcast? His talent agent called and said he's booked. So now you get the fake Oli. But I think when you look at our past podcasts, I was trying really hard to be someone I wasn't, right? Because again, I look at it and I go, well, I got to be like this big podcaster. I got to be super polished.
Well,
I got to be.
Dude, I was actually thinking about this the other day that we've said it a lot on the show. We're not experts. We're not guru. We're not any of that stuff. But we are experts at what we've done and who we are and our experiences. And we may not be, the most well-known gigantic econ company out there or podcast or any of those things, but we know way more than most people in these spaces. And I think we need to embrace that more on this show and what we're putting out there, because like we may say that we don't want to be experts, but people want to listen to people who can help them and who can give them advice and tips and tricks and things and like learn from our mistakes so you don't have to make the same ones. Or here's how we got through this thing, which I think by default, doesn't that sort of make us experts then?
I think everybody's an expert in something, right? I mean, I've always struggled with it. And I think the reason why I always self-deprecate and I always like, particularly on the podcast, I always want to default like, well, I'm not that smart. It's because the way we were raised, the American education system, in my perspective, was always like, well, you can't be proud of yourself. You can't say you're better than so-and-so. You might hurt their feelings. And so like, I've always kind of carried that with me. Like I don't want to make people feel like shit.
But the minute you're out of that and in the real world, that is life, is
100%.
Like, I think we need to, we started this show off saying, who are you? Or like, who is your authentic self? What are you? We just need to embrace that and be who we are in this show and everything that we do, because you can like it or you cannot. And quite frankly, I can't control either reaction, but I can just be me and I can stop worrying about what other people have to think or say or do.
So if you were on a dating show, someone asked,
do you want to go on a date with me?
I do.
Uh-oh.
Chinese food for lunch?
Oh, dude. I am hungry.
Matt Adelman, what are your authentic qualities?
Oh boy. I think my authentic qualities is that I can say that's a dumb question and I don't want to answer it. I'm kidding.
So
I'm an iron teddy bear.
Yeah,
Barbed wire teddy bear.
I was just gonna say, so I got a buddy who nicknamed our former COO a barbed wire teddy bear, and one day Matt he wasn't playing along with my eagerness to rip on brands, and I just looked at him like, Matt, you're a barbed wire teddy bear, and so that's our joke internally now that he's a teddy bear, but he's wrapped in barbed wire.
I will come back to your question maybe in a minute, but I want to go back to something else that you said because I think this is really important. You said you went into that networking thing and you felt like you had to be this, like you had to be this person that everybody else was so you could fit in, right? You didn't say fit in, but I'm assuming that's why you were doing it.
100%, yeah.
Which, as you're saying it, I'm thinking back to when I was at Land O'Lakes and I was at a networking event there was a restaurant in Roseville called Grumpy's. It was right on Snelling.
Yeah.
Now it's Pizza Luce. And we had the whole upstairs booked. And I was in marketing, which is as cutthroat as insurance, right? It's all MBAs and it's all type A people. And like, they lead the company, right? A marketing-led organization. The CEO is a former marketer. Like it's same thing, same vibe, different industry. And I remember I was meeting with the SVP of Dairy Foods, which was the division I was in. And we're talking and everything he said, I'm trying to match too, right? Like I'm trying to fit in and I'm trying to puff my chest, but not in like a puff my chest, but like, hey, I belong here. I fit in. I can be the next director. Like we all do it. Everybody does this thing. So I heard you talking. It's like, I think that's a rite of passage, honestly. And kudos to you if you've never had to do that and you're just you. Now I could give two fucks. Now I'm just me, but this is 15 years later and a whole lifetime of experiences.
Speaking of that, have you ever been in a situation, Matt, where I have a couple people in my life that this cracks me up because they're these type of people. You ever had a situation where someone's just being an asshole? They're just not being nice to you, or they're not being nice to a group, or like and someone in your group calls that person out and says to them, like, you're being a jackass, or like you're being a dickhead, or like whatever. Have you ever been in a situation where you've had someone with you that's because those people are the authentic people. Like they're not hiding. They're just going to call it out. They're going to say what's on their mind. I think part of it's a byproduct of being a Minnesotan too. Like Minnesota's a really weird state in a lot of regards. And if you're from Minnesota and you're listening to this, like just analyze Minnesota for like 5 minutes. You're going to realize we live in like the cultiest of cult states in America. Because it's just like you have to stay here, and if you don't live here, like
how can you not live here? They call this whole Minnesota nice thing, right? Like
Minnesota passive aggressive.
We that too, but I don't know, man. I worked like a lot of the industries I've been in have had people all over the country, right? Come here or we go there. Like it's a lot of the places I've been have been melting pots of people. Where yes, there's a lot of Minnesotans, but there's a lot of other states, and I feel like everybody, at least in the professional corporate setting, they tend to meld and try to fit in. They end up going with the flow more often than not. Because I think, honestly, and I can speak to experience, if you don't fit in and you're in a big corporate setting, you're not going to be there. They're going to find a reason to get rid of you if you don't fit in.
Aside from your favorite podcast host, me.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. What podcast out there do you find yourself drawn to more often than not?
Can I give a different answer and not a podcast, but a person?
Yeah.
So as I was talking about trying to fit in, right? People do this in corporate America. There was a lady at Target. I don't remember what her official title was. She was an executive. Her name was Carolyn Waringa, I think her name was. If anybody is at Target or was at Target and just heard me say her name, they instantly know who she is. So I'll probably butcher some of her backstory, but she was, I believe, from Kenya. She's from Africa, but has been here her whole life, or at least a very long time. And she was, I think she ended up being the chief diversity officer at one point for Target. Now she left and she runs a bunch of other stuff. But the thing about her was she's African American, living in Minnesota at Target. Okay, so we all know how difficult it is.
The whitest white culture in America.
Like it's a known thing here.
Yeah.
It's very, 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 very hard to recruit diversity into the state because it's very hard to fit in. Like it is.
Yes.
And And so she used to give this talk. She tried to fit in for years and years and years and years. And she did great, like super smart, and she ended up making a career. And I apologize. I wish I remember the trigger moment for her. But at one point she's like, I'm done. I'm not fitting in anymore. I'm just going to be me. And all of a sudden her hair's however she wants to wear her hair, and it's bright clothes and like whatever the hell she wanted to do. And so she instantly just flipped the switch and became herself, just who she was. And all of a sudden, like all the baggage was gone and all the weight was lifted and she could just be her. She climbed the ranks. She became a celebrity really because you'd see her walking down the hall. And I'm not shitting you, man. She'd have bright pink pants on and a lime green blazer and the biggest glasses and the boldest jewelry and hair crazy and whatever. And she didn't give a shit at all. She's like, this is me. This is who I am. This is how I'm going to be. If you don't like it, don't care.
I got a smile on my face because I want to meet this lady because I I love it. I mean, I remember. I just think you saying that, and she owned it. She's going to be her, and she's not shameful of it. And I think back to how many years I spent trying to dress like someone else. And I actually remember like there were these meetings we had to go to at a former career, and it was like whatever one group of guys were wearing, the next year everybody had that. And every year there was a trend. Yeah. And you could see what it was. One year it was Allbirds, the next year it was white pants, and then it's this. And like it was because nobody could actually free think, right? They had to group think. They had to think like everybody else.
People setting the trend are thinking, aren't they? Like there is a group.
Yes, there's usually one person and then everybody else. Whereas it was like, do I actually want this? And this is like, so I think I told you this. I in that fast-paced culture, I bought an Omega watch. I love watches. Bought an Omega, loved it. And then I woke up one day and I'm like,
is that an expensive watch? I don't know anything about watches.
I mean, they're $3,000 to $5,000 for an Omega.
That's a lot.
Yeah, I mean a Rolex is 9, 10, 12. And but back to that very first podcast episode when I talked about watches, I bought a watch, a nice watch, a beautiful watch, and I love that watch, but I never wore it because I always wear my smartwatches. But I bought it to try and fit in. But I also bought it to be different because everybody else wore Rolexes, so I had to be different. That's just my personality. But at the end of the day, it didn't matter if I wanted to be different. I still bought into the bullshit of if I have a really nice watch, you are going to think more of me. You're going to think, this guy's made it. He's done it. Oh, he's amazing. And like, when I sold it, I was like, man, like, I'm pretty chill right now.
So I have a question, though, on this, that there's the culture. So this keeps me up at night because on one hand, you've got to be you. You got to be who you are. You got to embrace who you are. You got to just do your thing. But on the other hand, there is the social norm. There is what your industry is supposed to be, right? So if you are in commercial insurance and you're going to sell expensive policies to people who have money, and you show up in sweatpants and a sweatshirt, you're the greatest damn person in the entire industry, right? But you look like a homeless person. Are you going to get the sale?
Possibly.
Think so? I mean, I don't know the answer here because in my world, right, and in food sales, in the brokerage side of my world, not the Switchback side, I'm calling on corporate buyers at gigantic retailers, right? I've been them. I know as much, if not more, than a lot of those people.
Shave your beard.
Not even the shave the beard thing. Just like I wear jeans and a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Right? But if I show up to Costco in jeans and a t-shirt, like if I don't look the part, are they gonna take me seriously? Even though I have all the knowledge, this is the thing with being your authentic self that keeps me up at night why I think people won't embrace it more is because there's still the cultural, social norms of your industry.
Who's that dude on the ESPN on the show?
Pat McAfee.
Yeah. People take him seriously?
I don't know. Here's the thing, man. The first time I saw him and I didn't know who he was, I saw a show on ESPN. I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? I turned it off. I didn't listen to him. I knew, and then I do some research and I understand more of who he is. But I turned it off. I'm like, I'm not listening to why is this dude wearing a tank top on national TV?
So there are social norms. You do have to do, but you can also be your authentic self in those social norms. So one of them is that I think about, and like I got caught up in this bullshit, was buying $1,000 sport coats or $1,000 suits, right? Because, this guy is custom. Well, I need custom. Nobody ever knew that I take it back. One person in the history of me wearing that stuff was like, dude, that's a beautiful custom made jacket. One person. But that one person sold custom clothes. So he knew what custom clothing looked like and how to discern it. But dude, I wasted so much fucking money when I could have bought stuff from Nordstrom or Macy's and it would have looked damn near as good and I would have been just as happy. But instead, man, honey, I apologize. Like I lit a lot of money on fire buying clothes that didn't do shit for us, didn't close any deals. And I don't know, here's the other piece that I think a lot about too. And it's like, shit, man. If you're selling, I did a lot of work in the ag space. I never wore a sport coat and nice pants and nice shoes out there, right? Like I dressed a different part. So I was not being my authentic self to them. When in actuality, my authentic self would have been like, I'm gonna wear jeans and a flannel. But I think there's a lot for people to think about on that authentic self standpoint. Cause I still wonder and I still try and figure out like, who am I? And I think we all do. I think it's natural, but my big thing, if you think there's a day of my life where I don't wake up wondering who the fuck I am or what the fuck I'm doing with my life, you're sorely mistaken. I can try and put on a face. I can try and put on a mask. I can try and be everybody to everything to everybody. But dude, I'm just trying to survive every day. I'm no different than you and everybody else, right? We're all just trying to survive. But slowly we start to figure out, at least I've started to figure out, what genuinely makes me happy. I got a fucking yoga mat that I'm throwing in the dungeon here. You think I give a shit that I'm gonna be in there doing yoga and you're gonna be out here grinding away doing work? Like, no, I'm like, it brings me joy and it makes me happy. I'm not gonna hide from my passions because you might think I'm weird. I'll put one more funny spin on it. I posted on LinkedIn about questions you can ask when you're networking that aren't stupid fucking questions. Like, where'd you go to school? And, how many kids? Like questions that are gonna get people to talk. And when I ask the questions, I remember I asked a guy during COVID, we're doing a Zoom, right? Nobody's meeting face to face, and got introduced to the CFO. And I go, hey man, like this is all great. Like I understand you know how to count numbers, but what are your hobbies? And he goes, I'm a little embarrassed. I'm like, no, dude, you don't need to be embarrassed. And he goes, I love to go garage sailing and do estate sales. I'm like, no shit. Tell me about that. We talked for 2.5 hours about antiquing, garage sailing, estate sales. Not one part of me thinks that dude is weird, even though he was so ashamed to say that out loud. He goes, I've never told people in corporate America that that's my hobby. I'm like, dude, could you imagine if everybody in corporate America knew that that was your hobby? How many people would be like, dude, there's a garage sale down the road for me. What should I go look for? Like, you're a fucking expert, dude. Own that shit and be proud of it and enjoy it. Like, don't hide from, be authentic, be you. I always tell people, like, if we ever have an office by the airport, which we never will, I won't get shit done. I love airplanes. I love watching airplanes. I used to be in meetings for my day job, my former day job, and an Airbus 330 or back when Delta flew the 777, they'd come flying by the office building, and I would literally just go in the middle of a sentence, just look out the window and stare at that thing and just marvel. And finally got to the point, like, dude, guys, like, I love planes. I'm going to get distracted. That's cool. I owned it. But people come to the office like, hey, I'm flying to so-and-so. What seat should I take? Like, because I'm kind of a pseudo expert in commercial aircraft and what seat you should sit in. You don't need seat guru when you got Oli.
Yeah. I think it makes me think in 2023, 2020, whatever year it is that you're listening to this, it may have been when we were kids growing up that you couldn't share a lot of this stuff because your tribe was so small, meaning you had your school friends and that was it. And if you didn't fit in with them, where did you go? You had nowhere else to go, right? It wasn't like you could just go pick a new school. It wasn't like you could hop into a chat room or Discord or anything that you can nowadays. But today, in today's world, you can be you, maybe not in school. Maybe that's still true, right? Like school's weird. It's just is. But the minute you leave, you can find your tribe anywhere. If you're willing to be open and honest about what your tribe is. If you're willing to embrace it. Like, I fucking love playing World of Warcraft. Like, I love games like that. Love, 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 love. I would play them for hours if I could. Well, in fact, I did. When I was really playing those games, I would talk to people for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours if they're into it. But it was really weird to tell my coworkers that in the beginning, right? It would have been very weird when I was in high school and I was the only one in my friend group that was into that sort of stuff. When they're all skaters and, you know, into rap music and everything else, I'm like, I actually kind of want to sit in my basement and play World of Warcraft. You know what I mean? But now, like, I can go online and I can find my crew and my tribe and my people. I can find my podcast. I can find my YouTube. I can find my people I want to follow. I can engage with them. Like, we're so connected now that if you're willing to just be honest and admit, like, this, I like whatever it is. No shame, no judgment, no nothing. I think we'll be a lot happier, and like, it's there. It's a different world we live in nowadays, in a good way.
Yeah, dude. I hear what you're saying. I think back to, I mean, it's highly unlikely a kid's going to stumble across this podcast and be like, man, I'm going to listen to two old dudes talk about life.
We're not that old.
But you're right. I mean, I look back, I remember we moved from southern Minnesota to the Twin Cities to a suburb, and my brothers got me some skater shoes because it was all the rage in like 2000. And I wore them and like 4 or 5 kids in school. And because I thought they were dope. I thought they looked cool. They were comfy.
Are they D.H.E?
Probably. I think they were D.H.E or D.C, right? I don't remember. But I just remember like some kids, you know, like friends of mine made fun of me. And I never wore those shoes again. And I think back to like, childhood is tough. It's not easy, right? And you're gonna get out, you know, whatever. But I think a lot to that. And I'm like, you know, I understand 13-year-old Oli in a new school being bullied, being made fun of, like one thing. But if you're 37 and someone makes fun of the shoes that you wear and so you never wear them again, like, you got to do a serious self-check of like, what do you care about? And it's okay to just give someone the middle finger. I'm like, hey, cool, go fuck yourself. I like them. And I've said that to people where people are like, oh, why would you? Like, so my backpack, you know my backpack. I wore that, and I got it a year and a half ago, and I wear it in the office, and people in corporate America, what are you going hiking? I'm like, hey, dude, guess what? I love this backpack. You can go fuck yourself. And I said that to a guy, and the guy just kind of looked at me. And a couple days later, he's like, dude, I got to tell you, I really like your backpack. And I was like, well, thank you. I appreciate that. But like, I don't really care what anybody thinks. Like, I am now to the point where I'm doing shit because I want to do it.
Yeah.
And I enjoy it. I like it. I get joy.
Yeah.
So like, fuck off, people.
I think if you mentioned when we talked a little bit about kids in high school and everything else, but the reality is, man, like, I didn't have this approach and this mentality until a couple years ago, right? So I was in my late 30s and I still struggled with this because I just didn't talk about it with any, like, I never had this conversation or thought about this stuff before. And I think if you're in that boat right now and you're in your 30s or 40s or 50s or 20, whatever age, like, I just encourage you to go find your people, be you, do your thing. And if that means you need a new group of friends or you need different people to hang out with, I'm telling you, you got to do it. Because if you stick with a group that you're just really not all that comfortable or excited or happy with, there's more to life than just trying to fit in a place that you're not, when you could just embrace who you are and go find those people too. Like, you'll have more fun, you'll have more to talk about, you'll click better. Like, it's all around. It's not easy, but it's a better place if you can find it.
And I would echo everything you said. I mean, I think, like, I don't know. I got plenty of stories of trying to fit in, trying to be someone I'm not. And I mean, it never really worked out well for me. It never worked out well to be anybody but myself. And I think that was like kind of one of the realizations I had. I think it was Sunday afternoon, just dorking around. I'm like, you know what, man? You spent all this time at a company that didn't, at the end of the day, care about what you believed in. Like my core values didn't resonate with that. And that's not to say either one of us is wrong. I never should have went there, right? Because that wasn't my cup of tea. Now, I did incredibly well. I had a lot of fun. There's amazing people. It's an amazing organization.
But life's too short to not realize when it's time to make a move. Make the move.
And
don't dwell on it and don't fear it.
Don't dwell, don't fear it. But also, like, admit when it's just not what you want. And that's okay. If I were speaking in front of a high school right now, I would say that, like, you in your life, you're going to face so many lies that you want to tell yourself because other people tell them to you. And if you let those lies become your self-truth, your life is going to be an absolute shit show. And I can say that because my life was a shit show. And I can now say that because I'm changing that, and my life is still kind of a shit show, but now it's my own shit show and I own it. But
by the way, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt so much, but I want to throw this out. We are not saying throw everything away and go do some crazy shit and make irresponsible, irrational decisions. That's not what we're saying. But if you've got a passion and a belief and a calling to do something different, like take the faith, do it. Like surround yourself with people that you jive with. Find the clan, the tribe, the group. Be you. And
don't let it's so easy to say, and it's so cliche, but don't let the money dictate. Like when I was debating going into Switchback full time, the money thing drove me. I interviewed with a number of different companies over the last 3-4 years, and every one of them I believed I had a better future at, but I couldn't walk away because of the money. I let the money drive my decisions. So don't let the money drive your decision in the search of being the authentic you. Be the authentic you, and I think the money will follow, the opportunity will follow.
Or it won't, but that's okay.
That is okay.
You'll be happy and you'll be having fun.
Thanks for the clarification.
You will. I've done it too. I've taken the jobs for the money, but the vision was to take the job to get the money, to have enough money to go do the thing that I want to be doing anyways. Right? It wasn't to stay at that job long term because it fulfilled me and I was excited and those were my people. No, it was to get money to go back to this place that I wanted to go.
Yep.
Versus a little less money, but going to the place that I want to go, and then regardless, and on that journey for the rest of my life, instead of this detour over here to get back to where I want to go. Sorry, I just smashed the microphone. Do you know what? Like it's again, like we got needs, we got bills, we got shit we got to take care of and pay. I get it, but the sooner you can get to what it is that you really are excited and happy and passionate about, and the people that you really want to be with, it's like a different life. Like I think of my life 5 years ago, corporate America, what I was doing, where I was at, and I liked it. Like the people were nice. There's some good people, but I didn't wake up like, oh, dude, let's go crush the day. Super excited. I didn't come home like, oh my God, I'm so excited to be with my family tonight. I'd come home like, I'm tired, I'm cranky. It was a shitty day. It was meetings all day. Versus now, it's like, just it's becoming much more what I want it to
be.
I
got to deal with cranky Oli this morning.
Yeah.
Son of a nutcracker. You know, there was a Wall Street Journal article that I read yesterday or the day before, and it was pay is at an all-time high. People have more vacation time than ever before, but yet people are more dissatisfied at work. And I think about it, and I almost wonder if a big chunk of it is like they're living a life that they don't want to live, but they're so tied into that money piece of it. And I empathize with them, and I struggle with that because I'm, you know, you need money, you need to be able to pay to do things, but at the same time, chasing your passion is really fucking cool. And I had breakfast with the guy this morning, and I said that to him, like, you know, it's weird knowing that I can't just go buy whatever I want and I can't just frivolously spend money. because I can't. But I go at the same time, it also has given me a whole new appreciation for what I have and what I actually care about. And I said to my wife, I go, from a young age, and maybe I've said this in earlier podcasts, the authentic Ole was enamored by mountaineering and skiing and anything really with snow and mountains. I just love it. There's something that speaks to me. Or big rivers and mountains and pines. But yet I live in one of the most boring areas of the country that has none of that. Nobody encouraged me to chase my dreams. Now, I'm going to put a caveat out there because when I was 18, I had enough emotional trauma that I didn't realize at the time, but there's no way in hell I could have gone away for college. There's no way I could have taken, if I'd gone for 4 years if I'd gone to school for 4 years out of the state of Minnesota, I don't know what would have happened. It probably would have been good things because I didn't have this support system around me that helped me limp along until such point where I realized I had issues. But if you take that and you think about life and where I could have been, what I could have done, and it's easy to say, but people weren't trying to fulfill my dreams. They were trying to mold my dreams, if that makes sense. And so I go back to it. So much of my life was what other people wanted for me, not what I wanted for me. And now I say to my wife all the time, like, when are we moving to the mountains? Now she wants to move to the ocean, not the mountains. So we're gonna have a little bit of an issue unless someone knows a mountainous region by the ocean that is not completely crazy.
Europe.
Let me know. She's discussed that many times. Trying to nix that one.
Thailand.
Probably not going to happen. No snowy mountains. We need some snow. We need snowy mountains close to an ocean. Does that exist?
Southern California?
Maybe. But I just, the whole point of that is I have done so much for other people. Now, there's core values that are deeply rooted in me that have stayed with me my entire life, like my genuine passion for helping other people, for wanting to help other people succeed. I don't believe it's a zero-sum game. But I also did a lot of things that I was just told to do because you can make a lot of money or you can do this. So I guess a long-winded way of me saying, if you're listening to this and you find yourself in that boat, like, just sit down and put what your passions are, what your dreams are, what you actually want, and look at what path you're on and see if that's going to get you there. That's a really good, simple first start. And then you can analyze, because I wasted a lot of my life trying to be someone I wasn't. And now I'm just being Ole, having a little bit of fun along the way and learning every day. So I would just say, go out there, figure it out, and be authentic, be genuine, be you.
Shameless plug. Join our group. Then you can have people to help support you in this journey of trying to be you and find your way. Because it's other people that are doing the same thing. Weird how that works.
It is weird how that works. And so I'm going to end on one pretty interesting thing. And this is going to really apply to those dads out there, and particularly anybody that's going to have a kid. But I think about it, Thanksgiving, family member of my wife's or extended family member is going to have a baby. And I said to him, I go, I'm going to give you the same piece of advice. And I think this sums up what that Facebook group is about. I said to him, I go, look, being a dad is not an easy thing, and everybody expects you to know the answer. And then the other thing is, people are always like, oh, well, good luck. Oh, have fun with the sleep. Oh, they say things because they're just fucking stupid, and they don't know how to actually be helpful in that situation. When every new dad is thinking the same thing. Oh, fuck. How do I do this? How do I keep this kid alive? Am I going to sleep? Is my life going to get back to normal? And so I said, look, I'm going to say the same thing I said to one of my friends when he was walking out of the hospital. We were walking out while he was walking in with their first kid. And I said, look, you're going to get sleep. It's just going to be different sleep. You will get plenty of sleep. Your body's going to adapt. It's going to be okay. It's feeding the baby. Within a week, it's going to be like clockwork. You and your wife are going to figure it out, and it's going to be awesome. But you just got to make sure you support her and do anything you can for her in that time. And then my third piece was, call me. Because being a dad is lonely and miserable, and we're taught that we have to be tough, and we're taught that we have to be awesome. but it's okay to reach out. And if you need to call me and you just need to vent, or you're frustrated, you're exhausted, you're emotionally drained, call me. And that's really what this Facebook group, why we created it, was to give guys out there an opportunity to turn to other guys to get feedback, get advice, get help. Because, it doesn't make you weak. In fact, I would argue, like, if you call me, which one of my friends did, it makes you a hell of a lot stronger than being the person that thinks that they can do it all themselves and cracking.
Yep.
So that's my plug for the group. Join it. I hope y'all enjoyed this episode of Authenticity, and we'll look forward to catching you next time.
Awesome. Take care, everyone.